Paul, Jen, what were your sort of initial reactions to seeing Turning Red?
I did not hate this movie. Like, it was not the best movie I've ever seen.
Glowing praise.
This is not
glowing praise.
This is not top tier Pixar, okay? But it wasn't terrible. It was fine.
That is a controversial take that got one guy canceled.
I said what I said, internet. Come at me.
So a little bit of backstory here. So this is apparently the Disney Plus's record for first weekend viewership, watched by 2.5 million households in the first weekend. But also, it got a critic in trouble, which is pretty bizarre, actually. So I'm going to read this here. The CinemaBlend reviewer gave Turning Red, and I read the review, by the way. It's pretty mild. The reviewer's name, I gotta pull the review up here, but the reviewer's name is Sean O'Connell, and he said, "I recognized the humor in the film, but connected with none of it. By rooting Turning Red very specifically in the Asian community of Toronto, the film legitimately feels like it was made for director Dominique Shi's friends and immediate family members, which is fine, but also a tad limiting in its scope." And in a follow-up tweet, O'Connell said, "Some Pixar films are made for universal audiences. Turning Red is not. The target audience for this one feels very specific and very narrow. If you're in it, this might work very well for you. I'm not in it. This was exhausting." And for that, Sean O'Connell was called a racist and a bigot, anti-Chinese, anti-woman. And CinemaBlend actually pulled the review, apologizing, saying that it was that they had, quote, failed to properly edit the review. Which, if you're saying you failed to properly edit that, then what you're really saying is, like, we failed to, like, vet it for a approved opinion, which is, like, basically an admission that your reviews are nonsense. Because what's the value of a review if it doesn't reflect somebody's accurate, honest viewpoint of a film? So I don't know. That's pretty nuts. So Jen, with the controversial hot take, the film was okay, but fine, not great, and now you should be canceled permanently. Of course, I felt the same way. Actually, I felt like the film was okay and not great, which we'll get into. But Paul, what were your thoughts?
This film was good. That is
okay, John Cena.
Yep. This film good. Yep. This film
good.
I would not say call this movie exhausting. Obviously
that's a little harsh, but
it feels a harsh, but I understand where he's coming from. Obviously, being who I am, this wasn't quote unquote made for me, but also I never really liked that line of thinking, because
I hate that line of thinking. I don't just like, I actively, vehemently oppose that line of thinking.
Because, and Pixar and Disney this is what they do. They make stories about very specific cultures or ideas and make it applicable to everyone. And I think where this movie goes wrong isn't the Toronto 2002 Chinese community. It's
all that
some of the analogies that we'll talk about that just kind of the analogies feel muddled. But at the end of the movie, the analogy that I felt like most applicable hit home with me. And obviously, I mean, I'm not a Chinese Canadian.